call this
Josh
meeting to
developed.
order.
Sorry.
Are you starting?
Yep.
Would everybody join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would like to welcome our new members. I will entertain a motion to adopt Robert's Rules of Order. Do I have someone make a motion?
I'll second. You want me to make the motion?
Yeah.
I'll make the motion that we adopt the Robert Rules of Standard Fair Parliament Procedure.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carried. I would then entertain a motion to nominate a chairman. Do I have any nominations for chairman of the Board of Finance?
I'll nominate Glenn.
I'll second.
We've got a nomination for Glenn. We have a second for Glenn. Do we have any other nominations for chair of the board? No. Okay, I'm going to close the nominations. All those in favor of Glenn being the chair of the Board of Finance signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. That will show that it's 5-1. Are you voting for yourself or are you going to?
No, I abstain.
Okay,
I'm-
now, Glenn is the chairman.
Thank you.
Chairman, I turn this over to you.
Thank you very much. All right, so I would like to open up the floor for the nomination of the vice chair. Do I have any nominations from the floor?
Oh, there you go. You and I were saying the same thing, so go ahead.
I would like to nominate Brian.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Any other nominees? Hearing none, I will close for the vice chair. All those in favor of Brian Hoffman being vice chair? Yes, yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Brian, good job. All right, I'd like to open up the floor for nominations for the board secretary. Do I have a nomination?
Brianna.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Of course you would, wouldn't you?
Is there any other nominees to be put forward? Hearing none, I close the floor for nominations. All those in favor of Brianna, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain.
Another 5 and abstain, thank you.
All right.
Yes. Yes, we adopted the Roberts Rules lesson, John, but just so you know, we pretty much have an open table here. So if you have something to say, please say it. We work better together by hearing everybody's voices and not, being strict to the rules, and we pretty much police each other in the Roberts Rules. So if you feel something's going awry, please speak up and we shut it down and we figure out a way to go forward. So I think that's important to know, that everybody's voice needs to be heard, and please voice it. Okay, roll call, we're all here. So moving on to public comment. I don't think we have any public comment. Moving on, I'll make a motion, or you make the motion, I apologize.
The
Yes.
we have
Correspondence.
communication correspondence of Andy Correa, Irene Correa, and Juan Carlos Alcocer. And I make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meetings, which is a November 12th special meeting minute.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Perfect, all right. Do you want to, yes, I'd like to make a motion that we move the schematic design updates to the next on the agenda. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor of moving that? Aye. Okay, gentlemen, would you like to come sit with us at the table? There's one seat here and one seat here, if you want to come join.
I'll just pull up.
Just sit next to me.
I'm gonna have to tell him to pay for that. Booting Diane out of her seat.
It will be remembered.
Well, good evening. I hope you had a chance to take a look at these. I know you just got them tonight.
I think they got them earlier.
Okay, you did get them. Okay,
I think
good.
so.
Because that's, I got hopes that that was the case. And I was here a couple months ago, and it's all my bad for for the delay on this. I had some issues to deal with, and at any rate, we're here. I provided the architect we had dealt
Jay, may
with.
I interrupt you for 1 second?
You can, Steve.
Could you say who you are and what you
Oh,
represent
Sorry.
for people watching?
It's chief to me.
Yeah,
He's the chief.
excuse me for thinking people know who I am. I'm Jay Purcell. I'm the retired police chief, and I'm the chair of the police building ad hoc committee. And here tonight to talk about the needs to update our schematic designs and looking for funding for that.
And I'm Rick Martino. I'm the new chairman of the police commission, so we're going to obviously have many discussions as we move forward on this, but be here to support what Jay is and the committee is proposing.
At the last meeting that I attended, rightfully so, you were looking for deliverables on what we were expecting from the architect, and we have them here, and we have an actual hard price quote on what we would expect that to be. So that's in line with the motion passed by the Board of Selectmen seeking up to $30,000. This falls within that framework, and we are asking for your support on that so that we can move forward to the next phase of our project, which is to get these designs updated so that we can start making some presentations to the public as to why we're looking to add on, renovate, or build new to support the police department and their current needs and future needs.
So, why don't you just walk me through I can read that the building I'm trying to, so the building here, it just brings up the points. So you're looking at a scenario of renovation addition. You're looking at a new build scenario, and then line 3 says professional cost estimates 5,000 times 2. What is that?
That's the cost estimate on the addition renovation and the cost estimate on the new build scenario.
Okay.
Presumably they'd be different costs.
And then it says here, professional cost, each option indicated by a total of 2, but you're only gonna get one renovation and one new build site, right? We're not gonna get 2 new build sites and 2 renovations?
We're
or-
looking to up, in the existing plans that we have a new build scenario and we have an addition renovation scenario. We're looking to update both of those plans. If an additional site is found or looked at, we can probably apply the new build scenario to that.
Just overlay it on the new land, is what you're saying. So you get, they're gonna get a footprint, and if they were to find land that was suitable, you can lay that on the new land footprint.
Yeah, I think right now, the goal is to put it here on Pocono. There are a couple options. One is to renovate from the police building into the Grimes property that we bought 5 years ago. We would take that building down. That was an original intent to buy that property. The second would be to put it where the farmer's market goes, right? That would be a new build. We could also look at a new build right at the Grimes property, completely new. So I think they're gonna be looking at all of those, right, Jay?
That's correct.
But only on this location.
Right, we've asked them to look at those 2 scenarios, including all the area that's available here.
Right. So then center school's out of this scenario build.
Center School is not gonna be specific to this, but we believe that the new build scenario can be overlaid on that property.
Okay, so whatever you plan
There's
for
gonna
here,
be
if you
additional,
had to.
if that's the way the community wanted to go, that would require demolition of that, start remediation and all that. So there's a lot going on with that particular site. But that site has been mentioned by the committee, so we're considering it. Whether or not it will surface at the end, I don't know.
I think that, personally, I think that site's problematic. There are 5 roads going to Center School. If a tractor trailer dumped over by the ambulance, our police would have to go 2 miles out of their way to get to the west side of town. Right? The traffic is really bad in the morning and the evening. We already see for the ambulances, I see it almost on a morning, daily basis, where if an ambulance gets called out at 8 AM, they have trouble getting out of the building because the traffic is backed up. So I don't think it's a great site. It would also cause us a problem. We have the community center ad hoc committee is looking only at the center school site to either renovate or improve.
No, I'm just curious of what we're
No, it's good
looking
to
at,
have the
that's all.
discussion, but
all.
that's why we're starting with this. We're under the 30,000 that the Board of Selectmen approved,
Mhm.
because we really wanna get this moving. We
Right.
really wanna begin to dimension this, right? So we can start talking to the residents.
And I'm assuming a new build scenario would involve either demolition of the old police department or
Reuse it.
you would already have a use stated for that, because we don't wanna end up with another center school.
There are a couple uses we could put that building to.
In talking with our architect, he has told us, he said, listen, when you're making these presentations to the community, you should present a complete package, what your vision is for the existing building if you leave it. So what are the
Great.
possibilities, and I know the town is looking at that too.
I think that's really important.
I don't wanna
But
drive
this
into the
design
details, but
agreement
there
doesn't
are a
address
couple
anything
really good
in the new
uses.
builds with what we're doing with the old building, right? And this work that's gonna be done, the new build scenario is not gonna address at all what happened to the old building, is that correct?
That's correct. We will address that with the town. Part of our committee's charge is to make a recommendation as to what could or should be done with the old building if the new building scenario is chosen. But that's something we'd have to collaborate with the town on.
I just add that the last police commission meeting last week, we had a discussion about this, and two things that we all agreed on. One, that we want to do all we can to support moving this forward in 2026 and get all the necessary approvals throughout the town, all the boards and so forth, for us to move forward with construction. And secondly, we strongly feel that a Pocono location would be a better location for the town from a safety standpoint as well. It's more centrally located. We have other emergency services here. We've got the town hall here. If there ever were a crisis that required all that cooperation and so forth, having them on the same campus makes a lot of sense to us. So that's it will be in the minutes of the next police commission meeting, but that's one of the things that we discussed that we think is prudent.
Yeah.
I can tell you as a former police chief, it was very convenient to have the town hall so
Yeah.
close by.
Well, if we're going with the town campus theme.
Yep.
kind of fits.
Yeah, you know, the chief of police now and I meet usually at least once a week. And sometimes we just walk across.
Yeah.
It fosters a very good working relationships among all the
Oh,
town.
I agree,
I
I
agree.
just wanted to make
Yeah,
sure
no,
we're on
but
the
just to
same page.
clarify.
because
It's just
someone
because it mentioned
appreciate that.
center school, that's why we
People
did
talk about it, and this way we can say this is what it is, so
Yep.
that's all, it's just clarification.
Jay, you said the committee mentioned center school, would that be the police building ad hoc committee?
Some
Came
members
up
of
in
that,
that,
our
okay.
committee have talked about center school as a
All right.
potential option that we should look at, because it's town property,
Mhm.
it's available.
The two scenarios, are they like completely functionally equivalent, or does one scenario have something that the other doesn't have?
Well, the new build is, by virtue of the fact that it's designed specific to the purpose intended, is a better scenario. The old building is gonna have to take advantage of existing layouts.
Right, right, so it might be a better layout and all that, but it'll have functionally everything that, both scenarios have functionally everything you need. You wouldn't say this one, we're also putting, I know you're not doing this, but the new one, we're gonna have a rifle range, and the old one, we won't have a rifle range. That would be a difference in function.
Both plans accomplish what was laid out in the facility needs study. So the facility needs study recommendations are met in both scenarios.
And not overmet in one or the other. Okay, good, thanks.
Yeah, and I think there are a number of, at least I've learned from being on the police commission, there are a number of things that are required now by the different agencies, and I'm sure that we would accommodate, we'd have to accommodate all of that. How we accommodate it would be different in a new build
Sure.
versus.
Right, so just in a new build, you might put in some things that would be nice to have that
Right.
in a retrofit, you might say, well, there's no way to do that, so I'm not gonna have those nice to have. That's kind of what I'm, yeah.
Not, both scenarios are pretty much equal in terms of filling
The needs.
functionality. Okay, good. So it's real apples to apples when we look at them, that's good.
John, any thoughts on your side?
No, not right now.
Just for a little history, they came to the board a month ago. The Board of Selectmen had approved $30,000, and the board decided they needed to have deliverables and a better price, more accurate pricing. I think it's because if we do for one, we gotta do the same for everybody. So we would ask the same if Board of Ed came to us with a project, we would ask the same to see what it is. And so that's what we've done, and that's the stage. I don't think anybody had a problem with it. We just needed to have the backing and the documentation behind it to approve it, just so we didn't look like we were blindly approving this to go forward. I don't think there was any, so that's the background. I don't think there was anybody that had issues with what
Yeah.
we're doing. It was more just describe it, let us know
Due
what's gonna
diligence.
happen, and give us a cost.
Yep.
And it looks like you're targeting kind of end of March to get the report back.
His indication was that, that's their standard deliverable date, but he understands we'd like to push it, so. I think he actually put that in
Yeah, no, I see it in there.
it's actually in there.
Nahid, any thoughts too?
Good luck,
You know, and
looking
once
forward
we
to
get
seeing
this
the-
design, we're gonna wanna bring it out to the residents, show them what we're doing, what they're voting for, why we need it. Because police stations are incredibly hard to get approved by residents. You know why? Because hopefully they never use them, right? No, seriously, and so they're voting for something that they know is needed, but they don't understand the details of it. So my best case scenario is to put this on next November's ballot, because it is a midterm, we'll get more voters, we'll get the most residents out there, and we'll get a better amalgam of residents to come out and vote. So
Now-
we're a little bit under a time constraint if we wanna get to that.
Will we be able to provide the town with, like, the current building to show them why yeah, it's great to show a new building, this is.
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Let me just speak that, we are in the process, Irene Correa is our vice chair, she's also working with the high school to put together a video tour of the existing facilities that are gonna highlight the deficiencies
Yeah.
and everything. So our goal is to get the public well-informed as to what's going on.
Perfect.
And I would invite any of you, if at any point in time you want to take a tour of that building. My dad was on the original building committee for that, so, and it's just, again, it has functioned as a good building for a long time, but it's just obsolete, and there are requirements that we're not meeting in that building right now that we need to meet. But if any of you would like to walk around, we just redid the women's locker rooms though, which was great. So we now have 4 women officers, and we needed separate locker rooms that were refurbished, so we're making progress.
We had cannibalized the lockers in the women's locker room to repair the men's lockers that were falling apart, so.
Now we have all new lockers for
Once
the women.
they started adding more female officers, it became problematic.
I love the idea of the video thing, for the public to see. Like YouTube or something like that, so anybody can access?
That's the plan.
What kind of time frame are you working? Because if we want to get this in November,
Well, they're in process now, putting that video together with the high school video group. And we hope to start rolling public information sessions out in January, late January, early February. So,
I think we're all set, so I can make a motion to approve this 22,000 since the Board of Selectmen already approved it, right, Steve?
Up to 30 we approved.
Coming from capital non-recurring fund balance.
From capital.
And if I could say one thing, Steve, you had an idea this morning on maybe having stuff like this at the town party, is it called, the big picnic in June?
Yeah, you know, at the June, you know, the block party?
Block party.
Yeah,
And I think we also like Friday night concerts. we could set up a display, just, here's what it is. The biggest problem we have in town right now is people say, for example, I've had 50 people say to me, why didn't you say anything about the cell tower? But honestly, we've literally talked about the cell tower at every Board of Select meeting for the last 2 years. People need to be fed that information, they need to be fed it in a way that it's digestible and quick, so we're gonna make a full court press on this to get that information out.
We've been working with our committee, we're gonna be making outreach to the Lions Club, to the Senior Center, and to other groups that meet regularly in the community, just to get more eyes on it and more ears to hear it. So,
Which is a good idea.
So I would like to make a motion that we approve the design agreement for $22,000 from the capital fund non-reoccurring balance as approved previously by the Board of Selectmen. Do I have a second? I think we've had discussion enough that we can go to vote. All those in favor? Aye.
All right.
Motion passes 6-0. Steve, you can sign the document.
Okay, I will do that.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you for loaning me your seat.
You better stay to pull the chair out when the meeting's over.
I think now we can go on to you, Steve, report of the first selectman.
Shoot me a copy, would you? Then you can do that. Okay, first selectmen's report. As some of you have noticed, we got a new website.
Yeah.
Our previous website was deemed by the provider of our website as no longer being supported. I think we talked about this about a year ago. So we moved, it was in the capital budget, we had to spend some money. It went live. We're getting, the typical, oh, where's this? I don't see this anymore. But overall, I think the feedback has been positive. And these things are always works in progress. So we'll continue to update. It ostensibly will be easier to see the things you want to see, right? It's a little more secure too.
Steve, the 2017 10-year capital plan is still out there. I'd really love for the 10-year capital plan to be published.
I got that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thank you. You're gonna keep asking.
That's the sort of thing. We've asked every department manager before the new website went live, go through every single page you have. If something's old, take it out. If it's no longer applicable, take it off.
I've been asking for this one for.
We particularly found that like with board memberships. We had
Yeah.
found one person about a month ago that hadn't been on the board in about 8 years. I won't say which one, it wasn't one of the bigger ones that people know about.
But was he still effective?
Yeah, well, we had to ask him to resign. Because he didn't live in town anymore. What do we want to talk about next? Let's talk about the fields at the lights at the high school. So the NBC has become involved. They have requested a master plan for the entire site, rather than just doing the lights around the baseball field and for the softball field. There are pluses and minuses to that. The minuses are it takes longer to create a master plan. The pluses are we won't put lights in, run the underground cables and the wires, and then come back to do the drainage and the turf field, which is the plan, and interfere, right? So we'll have one plan that does all of that. The RFP is ready to go. We're waiting for the NBC just to give us the go-ahead, and we'll kick that out because we really want to do that work next summer, if we can. We don't want, if we can get it where the kids are not playing and we can get the fields, because it'll take minimum 3-4 weeks to get those lights in.
So we're still gonna try to get those in by the time summer's kinda over and the days are getting shorter, so we can use them for
Right,
their intent purpose, right?
Right.
Extend the season.
right.
Okay.
Oh, so when
exactly.
you say next summer, you mean this coming?
This coming,
Right, okay, all right.
summer
You
2026.
have that already
And that would include the
built
field
in,
as
you
well?
know these numbers,
No,
right?
it would not include.
Oh, yeah,
the
we know it's
fields.
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
so-
we don't have the RFQ or
But you
the
have,
phase two,
right.
but the lights are all should be fully funded unless the quotes come in.
Yes, the light should be fully funded. Now,
Yeah,
we have to
that's
go
what I
out to
mean, yeah.
bid and get the prices, but we think we're fully funded. Remember, we got a grant for about $575,000 and then the town put in 200,000, I believe, so that should, the light should be fully funded.
No, I
Now,
agree, this is all planned for.
Yeah, yeah,
Brian's
it's all
aware of
planned
this,
for.
the capital committee's been aware of this, so this
Yeah.
is all, we know this isn't something out of the blue.
well, it just changed a little bit with
A
this
little,
master plan,
okay.
because people are saying, where are my lights, where are my lights? I think it's good to do a master plan, because we do not wanna have to go back and undo work. And the master plan, the next is drainage and turf field. If we decide to keep a grass field, the drainage will be different than for a turf field. Right? My preference, this is my personal preference, would be to go with the turf field, because then we can put another hockey, a field hockey, soccer field in the outfield when the baseball team is not using it. So we could get some multi-use out of it.
Even within baseball, you could get multi-age and use,
Yeah.
so a turf field is
Yeah.
probably best.
Yeah, it's much more versatile, and you can use it 24 hours a day. A grass field, you really do want to rest. You want to, it just, they're very expensive, but the utility is phenomenal. So that's where we are. That'll be going out
If they're
shortly.
looking at timing of doing the stuff, from what I remember, the phase two piece, we were in the $3 to $4 million range.
Mhm.
And I don't think we're gonna get I think it's too big for a steep grant, right? So are they looking?
Well, Steve Grant would pay for part of it, but Steve Grant has a limit of $1 million.
Yeah,
I
so my
believe.
point is maybe we should be looking to break it into sub-phases, because we don't have millions of dollars in town to build new fields, right?
No,
So-
no, maybe we turf the softball field
Right,
first,
so are they
and
gonna,
then we
they
turf
should,
the,
I'm suggesting they should look at it as at a
Yeah.
timing so that
as
it
phase.
fits
yeah.
into steep grant size chunks.
Yeah, as much as we can.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so hopefully that's in there kind of.
yeah, because we've had a lot of
process.
success with steep grants.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we put up good projects and we've gotten
Execute
approved on every single one of them.
So you could apply for one and then do the work and then apply
Yeah,
for
we did,
another
we
one.
almost
and
did,
that's-
we did the
Oh.
pickleball
So, for
courts is
example-
one, we just did did we get the welcome one? That's what we applied for now, is the.
Yeah, so
That
for
was lots of,
example,
and we haven't heard.
Oh,
Yeah.
lots of- okay.
so, if I could, our steep grant from 2023 was Streetscape, completely finished. Streetscape grant, steep grant for 2024, Streetscape, completely finished. Now we have another steep grant for 5 and 7, which is where the grocery store is, and we got held up by the sawgrass because it was supposed to be built this past summer.
Do we
We're
know if we have
waiting now
sawgrass?
for the botanist to give us his final report. He came out 2 months ago, said he would give us the report in a month. We still don't have it, so we are beating him up a little bit on that.
So is the purpose to get the master plan to make sure that the wiring's not gonna be disturbed with the second phase?
Yeah, we don't want to interfere. The chances are probably slight, because usually the power would run, I think, around along the outside, the edge of the field. But let's get the plan, let's
Yeah.
make sure, right? It just makes sense.
We don't want it to slip, but in the summer, I mean, it's pretty light out, pretty late
Yeah.
anyway, so
Yeah.
you really need the lights by the time you get into September, October, right?
Yeah, we really, really, really want to get it done before school starts.
Right.
So we're pushing really hard on that. I talked to you about the botanist. Streetscape Phase 4, remember we got the connectivity grant for $575,000. We're in the process of working on the design. We are Freeman is the engineer who did the work in the first place. Have the contract for Streetscape Phase 4. We did have some concerns because they lost a number of personnel, but we had a conversation with them today. They have told us that they will meet all of our requirements and get things to us on time. It's going to be a much more difficult project because it's going to require 2 retaining walls, which DOT really dislikes. They don't want them, so they have very specific requirements for building and engineering them. And it's going to require at least 1 easement at 854 Federal Road. It's currently owned by a family. A few years ago, it was part of an overall package with the property north of it to build townhouses. That fell apart. The properties were never joined, 854 is about 65% wetlands, so you can't build on it. So one of the things we're gonna talk, we have to get an easement. The owner of 854 has given us an assurance in writing that she will give us an easement to put the sidewalk in. So we'd also like to have a conversation with her about buying that property, right? It's mostly wetlands, it's not good for development, you really can't use it for development. I think the previous developer bought it because that would allow them on the northern property, if they joined them, to build more density because they have more acreage. That's gone away, so this property is, I don't think is as valuable as it was then. So we're gonna approach the owner and talk to them about purchasing the property too, as open space. We started to have conversation with the Conservation Commission. They have some funding that we could use, not for all of it.
What would we use the property for?
The highest best use right now we have is from Parks and Rec. We've had a conversation amongst all the departments, for a dog park. And if you think about it, I didn't think about it this way. There are a lot of apartments now, a lot of people with dogs, and they're walking their dogs, and some of them are not cleaning up after their dogs. We would like to keep it as a passive use because it's mostly wetlands. So we could do things like putting gravel parking, but not impervious, right? And it would be pretty nice and maybe save a little part of the downtown. So that's really early days.
So
we're
this
still,
is across the street from Tacobacci.
yeah,
Pretty much,
yeah,
yeah. The
pretty
new-
much.
The new apartments that are like right on top of the,
The new apartments are right behind it, you can see them. Yeah,
Okay.
E54. 20 Station Road, the building's knocked down, the remediation is completed. We put the wells in for testing. Those wells will stay for anywhere from 4 to 10 years, depending on the results that come out of the wells. The developer will probably start next spring, right? We now have to put together reams of data to send to the state to get the reimbursement for the grant. We are well under the grant amount of 1.2 million as a cost. It wasn't a huge concern for the town because anything over the 1.2 million was gonna be borne by the developer, but it's always nice to come in under budget. I think if you've driven by that, it looks much better. And so then they'll start, I think, late spring, summer to build, so they get all their
There's
seals.
something else that just got built, right? Apartments, right?
Yeah.
Right next to it. So,
Yep.
well, that place is gonna be busy.
Yeah, that's true. Did that, Candlewood Lake Elementary School. We are now in the final throes of negotiating. There are about 120 items on the.
120?
About 120 different, some of them are real small items
No,
that
no.
need to be addressed. The MBC has their lawyer negotiating with O&G. They say they're moving along. I have asked them to move more quickly and to be careful of the money they're spending. I said to them, you've got a budget. You gotta stay within your budget, right? We'll see where that ends up. But we're watching that very, very carefully. We're having right now our second quarter budget discussions with all of our departments. As you know, all of them gave us our capital requirements. We're going through that. We already had a capital committee meeting. We appreciate you guys doing that. We don't see anything in any department's budget that is concerning right now throughout the end of the year. Nothing has popped up. We got the RAISE grant through WestCog for the design of the greenway from Long Island Sound all the way up. They signed that design documentation today, so they're gonna move forward with that design. And what we're thinking is, Brookfield, they told us that Brookfield will be one of the first designs. So we have a design, basically our big design is from Brookfield Center, Brookfield Four Corners to New Milford. The southern end, we have a teeny piece to connect to Danbury, but Danbury's is going to be a Baird design. They've told us that they're gonna put our design, near the front, so we could then use that design and then use a steep grant to hopefully pay for a big hunk of it. That's our current plan. That's probably a 27, 28 actual build. You have the police act to me, police committee. I think that, wait a minute, there's one other thing I wanted to talk about. the end of the meeting, I'd like to have, if you are willing, to have an executive session to discuss a legal issue, right, if we could. I wanted to bring you up to date on something. Oh, on the solar, I knew there was one more thing, on the solar project on the two schools, right, and the parking lot, the Board of Ed had already hired a consultant, an engineer, to look at the roof replacements for sections of the high school and sections of Wisconsin. Remember, we were breaking this into pieces? If we want to put solar on Wisconsin, we want to do the whole roof at one point. We've gone out and gotten bids from all of the providers of engineering to get an idea of what they would charge us for the entire engineering, and also add in, and they agreed to, will it support solar? We might as well do this once, rather than 6 times. And so those, we're gonna have to have a conversation with that. The MBC is in charge of that, and I am going to be sending them a note tomorrow saying, hey, July 1st, we have to spend at least 5% of this project. We need to get it moving, right? Once we spend that 5%, we have about 2.5 years left to actually implement and do it, so we would be in good shape then.
Does that fit your thoughts, Brian?
So, the issue we're gonna have to look at, right, is that the original 10-year plan to replace the roofs on 2 schools, the total amount was $3.8 million, and they're coming in at well over 6 now, right? So, and I don't exactly know why, we're gonna get into that.
Yeah, we're
all
gonna
that,
get
right?
into it.
But, that's a significant increase. Wisconsin by itself went from 1.8 to over 3, so it's a huge increase. So if that's because costs have gone up since the study started, or the roof's in worse shape, et cetera, that's one thing. If it's because we're adding cost because of the solar, then we have to look at the business case on the solar and see if it's worth making those costs. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is, but that's what we're gonna have to look at.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, 100%, and that's one of the reasons we did this as 3 separate projects. If Wisconsin gets, we can't fund it, we just can't do it, we can still go ahead. CLES is a no-brainer, and it's built for that. The high school parking lot right now is no problem, right? And if Wisconsin causes a problem, we say, okay, we're just gonna pull back. And we have in our contract with Verigy that we can pull back on that, right? That if we can't fund the roof and get the roof fixed, we're just gonna pull back. So we have it out.
So, yeah, the capital committee will get involved in that in early January, with the board, if that's coming in very early January.
Right. What else can I answer you
I think that's it for myself, for me personally.
We're good.
I do think, though, we gotta become extremely cautious of these increases, and we got the boilers at the high school, and we got $1 million ticket items ahead of us, and if we're looking at police stations and rec centers, we had Brian and I talked about this a few times, like, there's like only $40 million that possibly we can fit into this window. So when you start taking roofing, $2 million, $3 million more and here and there, I think instead of looking at all these projects in silos, we gotta group them together and make sure that we can't do one without thinking about the other 4 that are gonna do something, because each one is gonna be, we don't wanna get caught out with the last one being $6 million and we're already at the 40 million.
I couldn't agree with you
So,
more.
I
I
just
remember I
think-
talked about planning for all these things. What are we gonna do with the old police station? What are we gonna do with the old library? There are a lot of moving parts here. We wanna make sure they all fit together and fit in the budget properly.
It's key
It's-
for us going forward. We've been reactive for a long time, we've started to be proactive like we've been talking about.
Yep.
And, this number here, I don't know where the police number is gonna come in. I know, we looked at Wilton, 18 million, 19 million, but I don't know if that's still a valid number. We don't know, and I'm not saying it is not a valid number, don't take it wrong.
I don't think 35 million is a reasonable number.
I agree, but we don't know, that's why we gotta get all these pieces and then make decisions here on
Well-
what can we really afford.
I think we should give guidance to the police ad hoc committee as to where we're comfortable for the police station, and come back to the town and say, here's the number, right? Okay, we can do this, 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 and this, but to get this, right, prioritize, okay, we just can't do this for let's say the number's 25 million, you know, and look at that. Because 35 million would eat up a massive part of our ability to fund without.
Other
over-
projects in other parts of the county.
Any other project, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a good point, so in the budget cycle that we're just getting into now, with doing the 10-year capital planning now instead of waiting, as long as we can get some reasonable input, like, you know, there are some things that are unknown, the high school HVAC type stuff and all that, but I think we can get a pretty good view of what's kind of containable when we go talk to people in April, right? And that's when the study will come back, so they'll have a better number, so I think it all kind of points to April having a good view of what's gonna happen, or what we can.
We're in much better shape than we've ever been in.
Mhm.
And we have Marcia on top of
Sure.
everything, and then you've been on top of everything, and the capital committee. We are now on top, but let's make sure we don't let it get away from us. That's all. I mean, we got it, we got a good grip on things, but the prices are increasing, as we all know, on everything. So what we thought was 2 might be 4. And all of these things, we just gotta be aware of, that's all. And we gotta be conscious of all the projects.
We do, and, you know, we looked at some other projects, like the police station, Wilton just did a police station, they went to referendum 3 years ago for $18 million. They built a whole new police station for 50 officers and 14 support personnel, 18 million.
Right.
So I think we're somewhere in the 20 to 25 range, I think.
I know, I'm
I'm
not
not
sure,
sure.
that's why I say we just gotta be conscientious, that's all.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
All right, any other questions for Steve? All right, Marcia, would you?
Board of Ed. Board of Ed couldn't make it tonight, that they've got a competing meeting. But their report came out today and I have permission to share it. They believe that they are going to be able to cover within themselves, that everything seems stable. So it's not much different than last month. Last month, we talked about, you know, we had given them additional money for some students that were 90% sure that they were coming into special ed. I think there's some, it's not those particular students, but other ones that I don't think that, it sounds like there's not going to be extra special ed money, as the board talked about last month, that they would have a surplus or a contingency in special ed.
Wait a minute. It was $500,000. It wasn't a small amount of money, so they've already
I don't know
absorbed
about the
into
whole
that
thing,
500,000?
but they'll give you a report about special ed increasing, the outplacements. Not more than the money that they have, but you were worried last month that they were gonna have extra
What
money.
I'm worried about is we gave that to them for students.
And that's what they're gonna use
Is
it
this
for.
strictly for students and not other areas that were not discussed during a budget season? That's where the
Correct.
crux comes. And if they got students, $500,000, and they didn't switch a lot of students, that's a big move.
So I don't have the dollar amounts, I just know that they're adding, they're forced to, not that they're just trying for fun. That students have been increasing on the outplacement, but they can give you a better report on that next month, because
They
they're
will
not
start
privy
coming
to
in.
special
Yes,
ed.
we've asked them.
And they
I
will
talked to the
start coming
superintendent,
monthly.
and I'm gonna talk about the show. I think it's really important that
Yeah,
they come in,
because when
We
we
don't
have
want surprises.
questions,
yeah,
who's gonna answer them?
right.
So, and we
I
clearly
guess
have
I'm
questions.
at a loss though, because what
Yeah.
month is it?
November.
Today, December.
So we enter September, we got a $500,000 surplus. We go to October, we have a $500,000 surplus. December, we might not have any surplus.
I'm not saying that we don't have any. You were worried about the special ed students being down. I don't have privy to a lot of special ed information. I just have talking points that
I think this
how
tracks
it
back
goes.
to why we can't throw questions at her, because
No, I
she's
know.
just
No,
literally
no, you're
repeating,
right.
so it's not worth it. Wait
I
until they get
think
here next month and hit them with the questions
When you
have.
do speak though with them,
Yeah.
that number, if there's a positive, they can't utilize
Oh.
that number for their increase going next year when they have an
Correct.
under thing. So they can't say, well, we got 53 million and 500,000 that they didn't use, and they're gonna start with 53 million as their percentage increase.
So Casey is very responsible, and the words would ring fence, she's ring fenced that money. It's,
She said that.
if they don't spend it, it's coming back to us.
But it also comes off the percentage increase number.
We haven't done that before, we've done budget to budget, we haven't done projected actual to budget, but we can,
Well,
we can analyze
did,
it.
when we talked about this to the town in the budget meeting, we gave them both numbers. We said the number increase is this, but when you normalize for this,
Correct.
that it was actually a much lower number. We actually took the benefit of that when we gave it.
When we gave to them, it's gonna be reversed now this year
Right,
though.
right.
That's gonna go the reverse.
Hopefully.
Yes, okay,
And
all right,
see
we're
where we're
good,
at.
thank
Well, I
you.
don't know if you can read, I couldn't, it says that, right above the box, it says that there has been an increase in the population of students who are outplaced in special ed with an anticipation of 2 more. So it does say that since we talked last,
Okay,
more than 2, I
Yeah.
don't know what that increase in population was. So-
all right,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
And there, I can send you these reports, there are more reports down
Yeah,
there.
can you send those, please?
I will. I
All
will.
right, thank you.
And the Board of
The
Ed
one I
has
got in my
not
books
seen.
from 2023 or something. I need a new one.
I think with the transition to a new board and the things that were going
That's
on,
fine.
we really need them here and at the Board of Selectmen. It's
There were
really
months
helpful.
when they didn't come, so I
Yeah.
just think it's better for them to start coming.
Yeah.
Yes, and they give their regrets that they had something previously.
There wasn't a
scheduled.
huge lot of excitement of people being in the finance subcommittee of the board, if you watched the Board of Ed meeting.
No, there wasn't. Before we get off the Board of Ed, can you, Steve, start the process? It's easier for you, and I apologize for the tri-board meeting in February.
Yes.
I know it's February, but it gets away from us at the holidays, and then we're into January. And then we
Suddenly it's
struggle
on
to
top.
meet.
We had a
and-
problem when
We couldn't
get
meet
everybody.
because we had everybody, we did it late, we had scheduling issues for a lot of bodies.
Mhm.
And if we're getting, like you're saying, back to a new board and important discussions, and if we schedule it now, more people
Yeah.
have a chance to
Okay,
arrange
so
a
tomorrow,
schedule.
by the end of the week, we'll get out.
It's
and
not
see-
urgent, but let's try to,
I'll
yeah,
send out a note to everybody, here are a few dates, what looks good for you, right,
yes,
Right.
please.
in February, that we
Mhm.
really, really want to do that again. I thought that was really helpful.
Yeah, and if we don't do it now, it gets away from you.
It does.
Okay.
All right, a lot of this is gonna look like last month, but I repeated some stuff for the new members, and it's not much has changed. That, as far as the current year, it looks like and you can see it on the reports and I think we had sent the reports when the new members, were on the list. That the revenue is expected to be about 200,000 over budget. That's lower than we've had in prior years. 200,000 will be interest earnings. We're getting 4% right now, approximately. That we in our projections for this year, our updated projections, we have expected today that it went down 0.25%, and we did put it down 0.25% in our projection. So that 200,000 is still a decent number. State grants will be over by about 200,000. It's just timing difference. Some stuff we had in last year's budget came in, or didn't come in, but it'll be this year. Some stuff that was in this year's budget came in last year. So within 2 years, we're right on target, but between the 2 years, it'll come in this year. And then we always put in 200,000 for money that we don't know what it's gonna be. It's just as
The Dan
It
roll.
lives forever.
yeah, it's just as irresponsible to under budget revenues as it's because we're overtaxing people, and there's always something that happens that comes in, and knock on wood, so far in the few years, 4 years or so that we've been doing this, and the years that we looked at before of why we should be doing this, we've always hit that 200,000. So we have 400,000 over budget minus the 200,000 we didn't know where it's coming, and that gives us the net of 200,000 over budget on revenues.
We use a word for the two new people, we use the word reverse contingencies sometimes. And that's what we do with the police, labor hours, and we do
Yeah,
that with the,
negative contingency.
with the with the retirement on the Board of Ed. Because you have experienced teachers retiring, when they bring in new ones, there's always a little bit of a vig in between. So Marcia's coined it reverse contingency, and that's our conservative way here on the revenue side, that we took $200,000, but we knew we would need it.
Yeah, nobody is willing to say, oh, let's put it in this line or this line, we just don't know. Same with the reverse contingency, when Jay Purcell, that was just here, was the chief, he is so good, so anally prepared on his budget, that he has every contingency in there, but not everything is gonna happen, but we just don't know which ones, and so that's where that negative contingency came from. You didn't have to say, okay, take this training out, something's not gonna happen, we just don't know
And
what.
that's the reverse on the side. We know we're gonna get some revenue from somewhere, so.
Supplemental motor vehicle taxes, we all get our tax bills in July, but if you bought a car during the year, you're gonna get a tax bill in January. And they're in the middle of calculating that right now. It's not finalized, but it appears to be in the same range as last year's, which is the same range as the budget. So that shouldn't be a nasty surprise, not a good surprise either. We received a penalty, we didn't have the penalty, we charged a penalty to a citizen for cutting down trees on conservation land. And we received a $50,000 check for that penalty.
Well, we sued them.
We sued them, and yeah, it wasn't out of the kindness of their heart. We received $50,000. That will go into the conservation fund.
Is that what we sued them for, or is that what we settled for?
We sued them for cutting down trees on town land.
Mhm.
These are 60, 70, 80-foot trees. If we could require them to replace them, it would be $400,000.
Mhm.
You can, it's hard to move.
What
a
we sued
60.
for?
We sued them for the money to replace the trees, and we're not going to do that. The Conservation Commission made a decision to leave the property as
Alright,
is.
So we sued for
But
50 grand.
you
we got
cannot
50
go on
grand.
town property and just cut down our trees.
But it
Did we
costs us
ask for like
$6,000.
$500,000 and
Right.
settled for
That
50,
was
or
my
did we ask
question.
for 50?
Yeah, it was a negotiation back and forth,
Okay.
and we could drag this out forever. This seemed to the Conservation Commission to be a reasonable settlement. Still frost my apricots.
All right, we're good.
And then, but we will take, so approximately 44,000 will go into conservation, and 6,000 into the general fund to reimburse us for the legal fees that we've paid for the last 3 years. Any questions on revenues?
So of that 50 grand, we'll see 40, 42?
44.
Okay.
We'll see the whole thing, it's just,
But we'll have to
some
pay the
will be
legal.
in
buckets?
different fund.
Legal's been paid over the last 3 years, so it's actually already sunk most of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Expenditures, that we're doing our quarterly budget meetings this week. As Steve said, nothing unusual has come to light that we're not expecting we're not expecting anything. That we think everything that has come up we can cover with transfers from one department to another within the department. The only exception is on Public Works. Their contract wasn't done at the time of the budget, and it wasn't done till this fall. We'll have to make a transfer to cover for that, but we put money into contingency to cover for that, and so we will have to take that out of contingency as we expected. And I think the amount will be about what we expected. The other one, I just kept it here, we talked about it last time, the police will be coming at some point to talk about the part-time dispatcher. They've been unable to get a part-time dispatcher to work the proper hours. They think with the overtime they're working, they think they can be kind of cost neutral, but they haven't done the calculations for sure yet. But they'll discuss that coming up. Bonded and cash capital, nothing exciting. We're working through with the meetings. We'll do some transfers, small transfers for next quarter, but again, nothing major that, is happening in those funds. And we try to do, transfers every quarter, and so the calendar quarters of January, April, we do a few more, in May and June. And the reason we do them is our accounting system, they can't put in a purchase order to buy something if it's gonna put them over budget. And we don't want to say, oh, just put it in anyway, we'll override it, because then we lose our budgetary controls. But we do them quarterly.
So on the transfers, just for Les and John to know, there's intra-department transfers and there's inter-department transfers. And if it stays within the department, the Board of Selectmen can approve it. So if it's Mains and Parks and Rec, and they had one line item, they were a little bit under on, and one they were over, they could move that number. But if they move it from Parks and Rec to Police, we have to be involved. So you're gonna see some transfers in one of her reports, Marshall had, where it's the Board of Selectmen, intra, and then there's inter. We only do the intras that we would vote on. And that would be, Marcia would tell us, we're taking it from this department and we're moving it to this department. But the Board of Selectmen has the power to move it within the departments. So when you're hearing these terms, you're just aware of that. Sorry, Marcia.
Oh, that's fine. So there's nothing exciting on the Capitol. Audit update, the financial statements are to the auditors. That we did file an extension just in case, because if it doesn't, it has to be filed by the end of November. If the audit doesn't go out on time, it's a $10,000 penalty. Extension is free, let's just file it just in case. But the auditors do believe they can get it out on time. They said if we got it to them last Wednesday, they haven't gotten to it to review it because we don't have any questions yet. And we prepare our own financial statements, and they did review the numbers and everything when they were here for the audit. That's where we stand with the audit. It's due December 31st. We would like to get it out on time. The budget, 26, 27, Capital Committee has started their review and meetings. We're doing budget workbooks. So for the Capital Committee, we provided them, and we'll provide to you when it comes to you, that 193 pages of backup and support for the capital budget. I can get it to you early because I have them in my office. A few of you that are not on the Capital Committee, we also do budget workbooks that are about 700 pages, and every single line of every single department is detailed. That for the police, for let's say supplies, we're going to buy Narcan, we're going to buy this much in ammunition, and that makes up the 700 pages. What my department does is it's in Excel, so we manually move the numbers over to have the comparative numbers. You had asked us for a comparative number within the details. So how much did we spend on Narcan in the budget last year? Not spend, how much was in the budget for Narcan, Cam, and how much is this year? So you can compare line by line. We've been adding that. We'd like to get it out to them as soon as possible, but it's a lot of hours, and we will get it out at least before I leave for Christmas, so I don't have to worry about it. But they're due back in mid-January, but most departments have already started getting all their prices together. They know the drill, that it's just moving their numbers to compile it on that when we're done. Okay, this came in this afternoon, that health insurance, the rates, and it's not, we don't get a final number on the health insurance until March or April. That health insurance is the biggest single item in the Board of Ed budget and the biggest single item in our budget. And we always say, well, what are we going to do? What are we going to use? And we're we're gonna use a 5-year average, which was 7%. Well, they're telling us now, use between 12 and 15% as an increase, and because we're in Fairfield County, we increase that 1 more percent, so 13 and 16%. Casey, the Board of Ed, has a budget that is done, and just trying to put together the presentation to their board. What do we do? So we thought we should do 14.5%, right in the middle of this, but if you want something different,
No, you got the
13
1%
we add the
kicker.
1%.
We got the 1% kicker on
Because we
Fairfield.
have
Oh, 'cause
1%
plus
for
your-
You
Fairfield.
gotta add it.
Got it, thank you.
So we had thought maybe we split it down the middle and do, because it's about 1% to their budget, that,
It's more
and
than
do
a percent to their budget, isn't it?
pardon me?
It's gonna be more than a percent.
With the extra amount.
Yeah.
The, but if you wanted us to do something different, like the top of the, the full 16%, we should talk about that now so they could get it in their budget tomorrow, because they're presenting it on Wednesday. But again, this, in the past, their, first quarter projections are not, they're all over the place. That, so we
I
don't
remember
know
last
how
time too.
reliable, but
Came down.
they've been telling towns to use these figures.
Mine went up 13%.
And the fire department has been told today that theirs might go up 18%.
I wouldn't be surprised if it, I would go,
Yeah.
the,
You know, the towns that are self-insured, like Newtown,
yeah.
they went up 28% last
Yeah.
year, and it's gonna be a similar number this year for them.
They had
It's,
to lay off 28 teachers to cover that.
it's getting ugly.
Oh, it's getting real ugly.
So-
What is the benefit of us to shaving that number down right now and then have to fight it on the backside? Why aren't we gonna, because in years past, I'd understood that it was gonna go down. I don't think this year, if you looked at truly dug into the data, is there an advantage for us to making it 14.5, or is the advantage making it to 16 and going from there? Because you're still talking a significant amount of money,
Yeah.
1.5% differential.
Yeah, we could do 16 and,
That's why we're
That's what
asking
I'm
you
saying,
guys
do
what
we
you
put
think.
in, I think you gotta put in the
I
16
think that's
personally,
right.
and then we work from there.
Yeah.
okay, we can do
If
that.
you started.
No, I
That'd
don't
be
know what our
safe.
advantage is to
Yeah.
14.5, especially when we're working on a $200,000 revenue this year. We used to always had a little bit extra revenue in the past few years to cover things.
So, and we talked today, if we estimated too high, we don't wanna pad the budget by any means, but
That's
if
not
we
padding.
estimated
Right.
at 16 and it came in
Fiscally
under,
responsible.
that might be the best time to start this strategy that we talked about. So we'll both use 16%.
Oh, hold on a minute, hold on, let's do this, last your thoughts, you're at the end of that table, I'll start with you.
My wife, if she were at this table right now, this is what she does for a living with Madison Financial, and it's insurance for small companies. And yeah, 16 is smart, 18 would be better. Yeah, it's not
So if
gonna.
you're saying 18 would be better, then 16 is almost a no-brainer for that.
Well, I would, if we're gonna go with a number other than what's up there, I would say 16 minimum.
John, your
Yeah,
thoughts?
I agree with 16, just given the climate of everything.
Naeed?
All right, I gotta agree then.
It's
No,
not
you don't
gonna
have
get
to
better.
agree, I mean, you
No,
can
because we
disagree.
have experience
It's not
here,
gonna get
that's-
better,
Yeah,
you know?
it's like,
Yeah.
everyone says 13. It's better to be at 16 than to be,
It gives us,
In
it gives us
fair-
the height to work at.
In
Yeah.
fairness to
Working at the height.
everything too, you generally get more information closer to the budget, because we've
Mhm.
adjusted
Yes.
this number in pretty much the
Almost
last
every year,
4 or
yeah.
5 budgets, Steve, we've been
Yeah.
together, right? That
We
the
have-
number will adjust, but I think for
Up and
this
down.
initial,
It should go to 16.
it should go to 16, and then if it comes in better, then
Great.
we can
Great.
adjust
So
it down.
Worst case scenario, and then it's better to adjust
This might not be
down.
worst case scenario
Right.
though, this is an estimate,
Yeah.
and what Les is saying, worst case could be 18.
Yeah.
So this
Could
is
be.
a reasonable, a reasonable worst
Gotcha,
case.
yeah.
Right.
Right, so that's, I
That'll
just think,
inform a lot of decisions we make on other parts of the budget.
but then we can add them back in.
And we could add
So
it back in
we
if we need
can
to.
do the budget at 16, we can prioritize the budget, and we can have the outlayers that if the medical comes down a little bit,
Then you
we
got
can
little
move in
room.
these other line items as a priority base. Everybody sort of in agreement? Ryan, you're thinking.
Yeah, well, the last couple sentences is what difference in decision-making will happen based on if we did 14.5 or 16? I'm not
Don't know.
100% sure, but that's what we gotta,
I don't know.
but we are gonna expect some, if it's just we're gonna put in a bigger number and show up with a bigger number, that doesn't do anything. We're gonna expect them to, both of us, the town and the school.
To manage to the number.
Manage to a affordable number, then it's gonna cause tougher decisions to be discussed earlier, which is
Yeah.
probably a good thing.
Right.
I agree.
So I'm okay with 16.
Yeah.
And outside of here, I'm on this board for troubled municipalities, and one of the state's biggest cities is having a hard time balancing their budget. And they came to the committee that has one of the top actuaries on it and said, oh, well, part of how we did this is we cut the increase in our health insurance down to 6%. And the actuary said, I think we're gonna be looking next year closer to the 20% range. So it's what we're hearing everywhere.
I think Brian said it best. This may force us to make decisions a little earlier, and then we can reverse those decisions if we find a little bit of sunshine.
I think it's better and easier to do it that way
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree, yes.
than to predict 12, come in at 16,
Yeah.
and then have to go.
Oh my
To
God,
make-
what are we doing now?
Have to make
Right.
even tougher decisions.
Because now we've already wasted 2 months.
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree.
It's easier to add back than to take.
Right, because then you
Yeah.
prioritize
Right.
a little bit. It's just human nature.
Yep.
When
Yeah.
you're clawing back, you prioritize a little bit more. So, all right, I say 16 then too,
I
so
agree with that.
that's a number.
All right, so we talked about the revenue, we talked about the expenditures, the two capital things. We have a grant fund out there that, I just want you received the report. And some of the grants, like this one, 20 Station Road, looks like it's in the hole.
It's not showing up on the screen for some
Yeah.
reason.
Oh, what?
We're looking at still the rates. You really want to
Please
haunt
get
us
that
with
off the
those.
screen.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's like.
Driving your point home, aren't
It's
you?
out.
Yeah. It's gonna show up on the screen shortly, I think. Well, there we go, it's coming. It's coming. But some of the grants show up as, when we look at the things, I think it's coming, that, it's linking here. When we, and this is what Dan did earlier to try and get it to work. When we look at things like capital projects or budgets, negative numbers stick out. It looks like it's overspent if it's a negative number. Grants are a little bit different. I think it's going to switch any minute because that went to a solid blue. Grants are a little bit different because like we spent $245,000 on Station Road this year, but I didn't pick up a receivable, and I do that at the end of the year. So there's nothing here that we're not gonna get reimbursed for. It's just easier on the accounting to not get ourselves messed up every month, increasing a receivable. And then, I don't know, but I'm having a good time here looking at the screen.
It's a beautiful thing.
Police contract services, that the money as of October that was available was $275,000. That,
Think about that again. I know it goes against your grain, but that money just builds.
Goes against the grain to use the.
Yeah, to use that
No,
money
it
for-
goes against the grain.
Okay, because it's such a big number now.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
As part of the capital thing, there's a potentially big expenditure needed in the next couple of years that maybe
Perfect.
we can put it towards.
Perfect.
I'm gonna see if I can
Yeah.
close that window. Oh, there we go.
There we
Okay.
go.
Yeah,
There we
yeah.
go.
So this is the police outside services that they started with 293. They transferred some money down to new projects that they had profit during the year, so that's how we get to the 275. We're meeting with them tomorrow, see if we can close the old motorcycle program, the incident response vehicle, and if we could close some of those, that would move it to even more than 275. But,
So Les and John on this, this is funds they get from doing road jobs on construction. These funds are their funds, they're not the town's funds. So for them to expend their funds, they have to go to the police commission to get approval first. Then they go to the board of selectmen to get approval, and then they come to us to get approval to
It's like when
utilize
the
it.
state hires them to,
Yes,
When you see them on the
If
side
it's a
of the road.
contractor or they're
Gotcha.
doing a job outside.
but it's their money per se, but then they have to go through town approval to spend it.
Right.
And in prior years, Steve and I, when we first came out, we had said that fund, we always, like 100 to 125,000 is
Right.
sufficient. So when they get up this high, we've asked them to help us at budget time. Last year, they bought a car out of that money to help us. Brian says, with this money here, he's aware of a project that may be coming up that we could utilize it on that project.
and the officers involved are on their regular time, they're not, that's
No,
not.
this
They're
is on
getting
their private
paid,
time.
this is extra above their pay.
Above
So
the-
the officers are getting paid,
Yes,
We
and
bill
we're getting
above
paid.
them.
and they're happy with what they're getting,
Yeah.
and then we get this too.
They get it, they can utilize it for what they want, but they've worked with us to allow us sometimes to ask in reverse.
So for example, we charge $60 an hour for an officer, we pay the officer 45, we make 15 an hour. We charge them for the cars, so much per hour for the use of the cars. And we have a lot of outside service, and we have officers who do it all the time. It's on their own time, they don't have to do it, it's voluntary on their
But the
part.
fund was set up so they could come and buy extra
Right.
stuff that they need, that they're utilizing.
School equipment,
But they've
whatever.
allowed us to work with them and say, hey, we could use help on
Nice
this
little
year's
cash
budget.
cow. Oh, all right.
What can you do to help us back? So they've been very gracious when we've asked. I don't think they've ever turned us down when we've asked
No.
for the use of that fund. So it's a great relationship, and as Brian said, he's already got thoughts on that, so we're good. I
And that
think.
fund just grows.
Well, we take it down, so we bought a car
Yeah,
with it last year, so 275, we took
Yeah.
75 out last year, went down to 200, then it grows back
Yeah.
up.
Right.
So, and we always said the limit was
We have a
125.
handshake
We-
agreement between everybody that it won't drop below
It's the
100,000,
bottom
because
line
you
on
never
that.
know.
Gotcha, okay.
They have something
Yeah,
they need right away.
catastrophic, yeah.
Is there a geographical range that we will not go outside of?
No, we hire officers from Bethel, New Milford. They sometimes post for our jobs, and sometimes our guys post for jobs in other towns.
I just want to explain, we don't have direct control over that. We do to approve it, but we don't have direct control on what they do, but it's a two-way street, that's all.
And you'll see sometimes in the expense side where registrars, in order to use one of the churches, they're required to have police. And so they hire a police or board of ed. And I asked the question, well, why can't we just have a police officer on their regular time there? And the difference is, if there's an accident or
have
something,
to
they
be
may be
pulled off,
called away.
yeah.
And this type of time, they're not called away.
That's expensive, $1,500 a day.
Now, are those the only examples of how they would earn revenue that would go into that?
That's our outside revenue.
Yeah, outside, okay.
That's it. Every other,
Outside
our
services.
day-to-day stuff is in the
Yeah.
budget, so that
Okay.
doesn't, this is outside.
Yeah, there's just three categories of revenue that, the regular daily revenue, I think that the Board of Ed has their own category of revenue, and then, no, I think it's different rates. There's, a category of revenue for, reimbursing for the officer, for reimbursing for the car, and for reimbursing for administrative time. And then the only expenses that come out of here besides the approved projects that are netted here are salaries, workers' comp, and payroll taxes.
All right, thank you.
All right, that's it. Any finance questions?
Well, since we have John Lucas with us, have we, or do we have a plan on when we're gonna do the bonding for we got about 2.8 plus another million that's non-bonded so far?
I'm gonna defer to you,
Um,
Marcia. I know we held off.
You just seeing you reminded me to ask the
Yeah,
question.
yeah,
All
I
right.
appreciate it.
And we did talk about it earlier, that we only, have like 2.8
2.8, I
million.
thought we did it with a million that we're holding from the prior.
That million from the prior was done October of 2024, so it's the 26 is all that we have,
Yes, we did do that million, we did bond it.
we did do that million.
Yeah, so we typically want north of $10 million before we bond, because it's 60 to 80,000 to actually just do the bonding regardless of amount. We have enough reserves to be able to carry all of these, so we're not going out. We used to have to do bond anticipation notes
Bands.
because we didn't have enough money, but we can afford it now. So
We
I
don't
would
expect
wait.
to bond this year.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, I've talked to John about this, I think we look, if, let's say a police station gets approved next November, right? We look at that, but remember, then you go into design phase, we're not gonna need to borrow that money for probably 18 months, even if it's approved next November. We're not gonna borrow it till we actually need to spend it. So we could carry this for a few years, and I think we should, because it's not a great expense to the town.
We've got, the schedule that's gonna be in the financial statements. We don't wanna take out the money too soon because we've got arbitrage issues and we're earning interest on money that's tax exempt. But we have $450 from, Streetscape Phase 4 that is just starting to go through now, so we'd probably take that out the next time. In 2024, the school projects that, we issued bonds for that, in October of 2025, this plus the $1 million from the year before.
October 2025 is
October 2024, sorry. And so we still have some money left there. Again, we're trying to match the cash flow, with the bonds with the cash flow.
There's the 2.8 I was talking about.
And there's the 2.8 that you were talking about. So in total, we've got accumulated 3.6 million.
That was kind of the million I was kind of.
Yeah, what John and Steve and I do is we look at this and we say, okay, what specific projects are in there? We ask Casey, on your projects, how much do you think you're gonna be spending in the next year? On all of them, we kind of know the other ones though. And to get an idea, and then we compare it to our cash balances. Do we have the cash flow to cover that or not? And right now, we're thinking we do. We've talked to our bond advisor to say, hey, if something happens where, you know, rates are, you know, so wonderful that we want to take it out, you let us know, but he has not called.
So this is the strength of the general fund.
You
Well,
Yep,
in fact,
exactly.
we're exceeding our
Exactly.
interest budget while not executing these bonds, which would have been assumed in the budget, says it's even stronger.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, but that's the strength of the general fund and what we've been
Yeah.
doing for the past, how many years? And you
Yeah.
guys, last few, this is the strength of what we've been trying to
know,
do.
just over 10
More
years ago,
tools in the
we were
toolbox.
borrowing money in May
I was here with
to
you.
make
Yes.
payroll.
Yeah,
So
we're no
I would-
longer there.
No, we're no longer there.
this fund balance that we have, that's the equity that we have in the general fund, that there's a lot of positives to why we have that. And one of them is we're able to cover this cash flow that we were taking out bond anticipation notes and then the bonds, and I would estimate that we're saving over $100,000 a year in
Easily.
legal and interest
Easily.
costs.
Easily.
That's why you always hear us protect the general fund. You hear a lot of people say, use the general fund to offset the taxes. But we've realized the tool it is to help us manage to get to where we're at.
And the people that want to use the general fund, you think of it as, you know, we're working full-time to pay our bills. If we say, you know what, I'm gonna use the general fund, it's like you and I saying, you know what, I'm gonna go down to part-time and use my savings. Okay, when the savings are gone, now I have no savings and I have to go back to full-time. That, and it just, it's
Yeah, we don't want to go there.
not responsible.
All right.
Thanks.
You good?
Yep.
All right. I did that already?
I'm done.
Oh, okay. All right,
The way you say that was, I'm done.
I'm out of here. All right, report of the committees. Brian, Capital Committee?
We had our first meeting, we early this morning, found out that we're an official committee now, not an ad hoc committee, which we didn't know, so Les and John were an official committee. And I'll send out a note, but we have to re-sign the ethics.
No, your ethics, members of the Board of Finance, it covers everything you
So
do for the
if you sign
town.
for the Board of Finance, then you don't have to do it.
So
Okay.
you're fine there.
And Stephanie's
And
on
we
Board
do
of Ed,
not
so she would-
ask committee members to swear in.
Okay,
So you guys have already sworn in the Board of Finance, so that's not a problem.
okay.
So
we're
we're
pretty
good
much
across
good.
the board. We have the ethics from every single member of the capital committee and from every single
Right.
member of the Board of Finance, so we're good.
Okay.
And everybody's sworn in, so we're
Right, and
good.
we've got our meeting scheduled to go, to be done by late January, so we can come into this group, into the Board of Selectmen with a pretty robust view of what capital's gonna look like.
Good.
Good luck.
It's a lot of work, it's a lot of time.
It is, it is.
It's gonna
and
pay us dividends.
It is going to.
It's gonna pay us dividends.
You'll realize, Glenn remembers this, and Marcia, we be going through, in the capital, in the budget, okay, what do we take out of the capital to make this, what do we, it works much smoother now, it's better information,
We're
we're
looking at the
making
big
better
picture.
decisions.
We were looking at the
Exactly.
pieces, trying to make it go to the
Instead
big
of looking
picture.
at 1 year at a
Right,
time.
now we're going reverse.
And being able to do the current year budget with a more robust 10-year plan from last year makes it that much easier, because, oh, look, we said we're gonna do it, here it is. here
But
we're
it
doing
gives you confidence in the next year's spends, because you know where you're spending this year, so you're
Yeah, know where
confident in
you've
what
been.
you can
Yeah.
afford next year, so
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sense. All right,
Just to be sure.
committee-wise, I thought a lot about this, and let's have some discussions here now of, I think these next few years are gonna be so important for the town that, we gotta be on top of everything. I think we've got a lot of projects going, so the capital committee's pretty much set. Yeah, so
But
I,
once we get through this budget cycle, we should probably talk about it again.
okay. Audit committee, we didn't really have, one. Brian was doing it with Marcia, but I think I'd like to change up a little bit with your blessing, if okay. I think we also, this is what I think, we need a Board of Ed liaison, because Eileen did that, and I think that helped us a lot. So we have one of our members go to the finance meetings at the school and listen in. So when they come here, it's not blind, and it usually there's some kind of, the person gets a take on it, and Eileen did a great job on that. Marcia and I spoke briefly, and we're falling down, we have a bunch of policies we need to do, to make, tighten up our belts a little bit. We're not out of control, I don't want anybody to think we're out of control, but there's some policies we think we should have a committee, because that's one of my weaknesses as well, that we need to have someone do policies, we'll make a list of policies. Audit committee, we talked about, I'll take over the RBAC. Okay, that's the retirement, a person from the Board of Finance sits on the retirement committee, unless you wanted to do it, Les or John, I'm willing to take on the RBAC. So, and then there was one thing I put in my notes here, and Steve, nobody has any idea of this, but talking to Nahid, she is really into AI. And how do we make AI, she has a company that's AI actually. How do we make AI work for us financially? Is it possible? Is there an advantage to that? And is that,
Really good question, I
Yeah.
don't know the answer.
can we have her maybe do a presentation to us? And if it makes
Yeah.
sense,
Absolutely.
that we then form a committee on how to use that. Because if it's a tool that we can utilize to strength, comfortable strengths.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about hocus pocus strengths, comfortable strengths, and we have an expert in the room, why not utilize expertise?
No, that's a good idea.
I just think that we should be aware of this, because,
Yeah, I've used it a little bit.
yeah, it's hocus
and
pocus to
It
me.
can be incredibly powerful.
But
Yeah.
the respect I have for Nahid and her knowledge, I think we would be a disservice if we didn't look at how it could help us financially. And while we have Marcia here, another guru, we might be able to come out of here
I
Yeah.
think that'd be
with
very
something
exciting.
good.
Mhm.
So I'd like Nahid to give us a presentation, and if we like it, form a committee with Nahid and some people around her that can present it to the town and to make this work. Nahid, am I speaking out of school or no?
Happy to do it,
Great.
yes. I think there's a lot of benefit the town can gain from
Right.
adopting it early. These are the early days, and obviously there's a lot of misinformation out there, and there are hallucinations and scary things too, so there are two sides to this, but, there are lots of pros that we can benefit from. So-
I was thinking that when they were saying they were having a hard time finding a part-time police dispatcher. It would seem to me that AI
Yeah.
could jump in there
Good point.
somehow and
Everything.
that could do
now.
that kind of work, you know?
I thought salaries from towns, all that information's out there, we
Right.
can't get that information from the town clerk in New Milford to the town clerk in Southbury, instead of
Right.
gathering the data, can the
Or you
strength of your
mentioned-
backbone
You
do
mentioned the
that?
Wilton
Last-
Police
last
Station, was it
budget
Wilton Police
season,
Station?
I was going to
18 million?
each town's website
Yes.
to collect the data.
Right,
I
right.
just have
Yeah,
to
you
go
can
and
do that.
Yeah.
ask now and say, can I just get the data for
There's
you know.
hundreds of towns our
Yes.
size around the country that
everything?
are building police stations or have already built them in the last 5 years.
Yes.
You mentioned, Wilton at 18 million or something.
Yeah.
Newtown just did one.
We could,
That's not
we
saying, I
could nail
think
that
it-
number down a lot closer. I mean,
Absolutely.
I think it's a great idea.
I think every department can benefit from it.
Yeah.
In every small task to big task.
So we would look at it strictly financial, Steve,
Yeah.
on how we can help out, and he would give a
And if that
presentation.
works, then we ask Naheed, maybe you can work with our departments. Come
Absolutely.
in and, give them the presentation. I've used it a little bit, to take a document and say, okay, create a to-do list out of this document. And mother of God, it just goes in and it knows what to do and it gives me a 20,
Mhm.
you go,
We have an expert.
I could have sat here and typed.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's,
I'm not an
let's,
expert,
well,
but
no, you're more an expert than
Yeah.
So why not utilize our talents, is what
Yeah.
I was thinking.
That's a
So,
good idea.
thinking along the lines, Board of Ed liaison, Naheed said you wanted to do it, right? Or no, you did not want to do
If I'm doing the AI,
it? No?
then, yeah.
Okay.
Or if you, if
No,
there's a.
no, we're gonna put up for discussion. John, is that something you do?
Yeah.
Sit on the
Something like
that. finance, meetings? It's, what is it, Marcia, once a month?
They meet tomorrow night, so it's at the second Thursday. It's tomorrow, because it's the first meeting of this new group. It's in person, it's gonna be really short, and they're not gonna touch anything exciting, so maybe don't go. But after that, they do it a lot of times on Google Meet.
Oh, okay.
But it's at 6:30 on the second Thursday.
Yeah, that's, I can do that.
It's not mandatory every meeting, it's
Yeah.
just to make as
It's
many as
really
you
helpful
can.
because then you get an insight into how they're thinking and where they're going in the future.
Yeah,
Because they do a lot of planning in that.
yeah. No,
And coming up, they'll meet more times because they divide the budget up to the different members, not to you and not to me, but their members, to go through, and so they do meet more in the next month and a half.
Okay.
It's just so they have, and they may bounce something off of you, and then, you say, well, we've already talked about some of this.
Yeah.
So, all right, that's taken care of, Board of Ed. Policy Committee, Brian, you and Les maybe? Les, would you be interested?
I was gonna keep my nose out of it until after the first of the year, until I feel a little more comfortable here, but what the hell?
Well, nothing's gonna happen on it. So,
What kind of policies are you talking about? What do you?
Financial policy, we have one that has to do right now that Brian's working on, that has
We
to.
gotta write them? A financial
Well, we're gonna
policy?
work together to write them, and Marcia helps us as well. So right now. with the-
Chat GPT.
Yeah, AI will be ready now.
So, we just looked at the health insurance rates could be 16%. So what we've talked about is setting up a fund and a policy to dictate if we budget for 16% and it comes in at 13, do we take that 3% that we've already put forth to the taxpayers, because it's a late thing, and we put that into an account to utilize next year? If it's a little higher, we can offset.
Offset.
So it would become a smoother type of policy. So in other words, it would say, all right, we have this money, we're not gonna spend on anything else but health benefits.
Right.
Zero. But we have like $300,000 in this pool, so if it comes in a little higher, can we smooth it down and make the increase the next year not as drastic? So we were looking at, that's one of the, what was another policy? Mark?
Fund balance, that we were supposed to look at that every 3 years, and so we wanna look at that again.
We have a debt policy that we just put into place that would probably be reviewed in a couple of years. These are the things, so we said, we can't take on more than 10% of our budget, 3% of the capital, so there's policies that we have in place that are fluid to review and to look at.
This is not a massive rewrite of policies.
No,
This is
no.
just an
I can work with Brian
updating
on that.
existing ones
Yeah.
to fit the current environment.
we've gotten to the point where for the last 10 years, we've worked well together and we've figured out ways that we want to just give guidance to future boards as well, because we have been worked pretty well, and we just want to, when we hand it off, each of our legacies, I guess, we want it to be somewhat of a script people can follow.
I think a lot of the policies that we have, it says this policy will be reviewed every 3 years.
Yeah.
And
Right.
there's no one to do that unless we have someone signed up to do it.
And a lot of them aren't changed because
So you
they're
don't
good
have to, you have to
policies.
look at them and say, yeah, this is okay,
Yeah.
fine.
And maybe Steve and I could meet and we could talk about what policies are
Yeah,
on the,
Well,
that
we
should
take
be
a cut at
priority.
it. Right, take a look at
We
it.
can all work together. I'm like I said, it's just, I think that it's something though that has been one of our weak points. My weak point especially is I'm not a policy person, and I think there are some we need to get into place just as a guideline, just for future stuff, so.
That policy was an important one we did last year.
I thought it was,
That
yeah,
was a big
yeah, I
one.
thought it was too. All right, so I think that's, okay, I'm gonna do RBAC. John is Board of Ed, policy the two. Audit,
Well, I'm the last one who hasn't been promoted, so I was just waiting for that.
That's the easiest one.
I
That's
think it's,
Brian.
I think, yeah, I know, it's Brian, but I think we need a different look at this in case something, Marcia were to leave us or something, that we're not in the black.
You
on the
want more
blind.
people with experience with exact
Yes,
subject.
yes, and Brian's taken on a lot, and I think
I'll be fine.
Brianna can handle this without a problem. So if everybody's okay with that. Good, yes, no?
Yeah, that's fine.
Right.
You might wanna consider next year that you take back capital. Well, we've done it for 3 years, so you might want it again.
I don't know, you're doing good.
We need fresh eyes. Not that, this was just getting going, but just think about it, cause you know, after, you might, if you wanna do something that, and you don't wanna do it.
No, I mean, I audit
Worried
stuff
about
all
that,
day
we-
long
We
at
can
work,
cross
so
that too, yes.
figure it out.
Okay.
Everybody
Good.
comfortable?
Yeah.
I just wanna
Yeah.
make sure everybody's comfortable.
How do I
Steve?
go about getting invited?
I would-
Marcia will
Casey.
handle that. Steve, are you comfortable with everything?
Yep. And we're here. You need any help, just give us a call.
As far as
I can work
needing
with
help,
Marsha.
again, we don't do quite Robert's rules on that. If you need help, you talk to Steve.
Yeah.
You don't have to say Glenn, talk to Steve, same thing with Les.
Yeah, we
We
ask, if you want something from a particular department, come to me. Because we can't have 6 board members calling every department
Yeah.
to find things. Want a little controller, go to planning and come to me. We're pretty open on that. It's worked pretty well.
I don't need to be in the middle.
But
You
our
go to
offices
Steve
are
or him.
always open too, John, if you just wanna
Yeah.
walk in. If I'm
Same-
available.
Like
Yeah.
Les too, same thing. You wanna
Yeah.
ask a question, you don't need to put me in the middle of that.
Yeah.
If you gotta ask,
I annoy him all the time,
Yeah.
it's not gonna be.
we're all equals here at the table. So,
Uh,
Absolutely.
I don't see, I think it's easier that way. We're all equals, ask your questions. We gotta work together, so. All right, we're good on that. We did the schematic, the internal service fund. Brian, you wanna speak to it or not speak to it?
You already did.
All right, so we're beyond that. On the new business, I'll make a motion that we go into executive session, which will include the full board and Marcia to discuss legal terms. Do I have and John Lucas to discuss legal terms. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. We'll enter into executive session, Marcia, please.
And I can do the closing time and send it to you.
You sure?
Yeah, why
Yeah.
don't you go, we can,
Thank you.
we'll tell you the
Yeah.
time, you
Thank
don't
You're good with that?
Yeah, we're
Okay.
totally good. Thank you.
It's nice to meet you both.
Nice to meet you.
ago.
Yeah, but
No, but it was done a year and a half ago, it should be done.
they have to do the engineering
They
for
don't
both
have-
schools. They have to do the engineering for both schools. Do you wanna do
They
the
don't.
engineering for one little piece
That roof
of
should have been done a
it?
year ago.
Or do you wanna do the engineering for everything?
Ariel?
If the roof is leaking at the high school, I want the high school
Yeah.
roof fixed. That's what I want. There's enough, engineering on both roofs is irrelevant.
So the reason
I
they
disagree.
slowed down that was to try and get the grant that,
Right.
that would pay for 33% of it, that if they made it into one project. With
And
respect
gave
to-
it to the NBC.
And that's
Remember?
why it has to go to the MBC, and then I said, well, what are our chances of getting the grant? And it sounds like the engineers are saying it's very high, we're entitled to that money.
Yeah.
If we, dot our i's and cross our t's, but,
It's not a merit grant, it's a grant that's available, if you cross the Ts and dot the Is, you get the grant. 33% of 2 million is a lot of money.
but we could make another decision, but that's the decision of why
You
it's
could have
slowed
done that
down.
grant 2 years ago, when we funded the roof. I don't know, just I'm frustrated that we spend a lot of time to allocate money for projects and the projects don't get done. This just happens to be one of them that happened to come up. There are others.
We should have acted faster on grants, but we're now that's behind us. We
Sure.
are now
Where
starting
we
to
are.
do these grants, and we can't look back, because we can't fix
I'm
it.
not new to grants.
I know,
I'm
okay.
on a different point.
All right,
A year and a half ago, we weren't gonna apply for these grants.
no, Brian's right, though, I mean.
No, Brian makes a point.
Brian makes his point
That
of,
budget, we said those roofs are gonna leak, let's give them money, let's repair the roof, we did that, and we have leaking roofs. That's, everything else is talk.
I see the point, and I can understand, and that also is part of the planning, you've already approved this money, so why isn't it going? Because that could have went elsewhere, and we could have moved things around if it wasn't gonna be used, and then it becomes a timing thing, and I understand.
I forgot we are-
But we're getting better. We are
I don't
getting
know if we're
better.
getting better.
Huh?
I don't know if we're getting better.
I think we have. From starting with Steve many years ago, we're a lot better, okay?
Right.
So, all right,
When are we gonna meet next year, Brian?
well, that's what we're gonna do.
Thank you, Brian.
Well, thank you. When are we gonna meet next year?
So we meet the second Wednesday of every month, and I have January, if you guys wanna double check me, I just double checked it again while you guys were going back and forth, but I have January 14th, February 11th, March 11th, April 8th, May 13th, June 10th, July 8th, August 12th, September 9th, October 14th, November 11th, and December 9th. And we agreed that Veterans Day is November 11th, but that's not, the town hall will be open and we should not have any issues. So it's just the second Wednesday of every month for all of 2026. So when we set that in motion, those are all regular meetings, and then any other meeting we have outside of that has to be a special meeting. That's why we set it up ahead of time.
Then we'll set the budget meetings later. And we'll
Correct.
set how we need them.
Are you making that a motion? You have to-
I'm just asking,
Yeah.
I wanna
Make it-
make a motion to agree to those dates that I just,
Okay.
For your normal monthly
for our
meeting.
normal, regular monthly meetings, thank you.
Okay, I'll second that, so then we can have discussion. John and Les too, since we do work very closely together, that if you miss a meeting, this is not a stress factor. We generally are open in discussions and everything, and if it's something extremely important that we have coming up and you need to miss, sometimes we table it, or we figure out a way for you to call in, but if it's a general meeting and something comes up, we're not like hardcore, if you got something that happens, you do it, obviously try to make as many as you can, but there's things that happen. But if there's something real important, we do sometimes table, if it's not urgent, we
not
table it to the next meeting so we get the input of all board members.
And occasionally, not often, I may ask you to have a special meeting, but I only do that if there's time urgent. Like we have a grant that we're getting from a company that has to be approved by the Board of Selectmen by December 31st. We're having a meeting tomorrow to approve that. Unless it's time, we're not gonna ask you if it can be the regular meeting. Doesn't happen very often.
And that's 10 minutes.
Yeah, so I just don't want you to think, oh my God, I'm locked into this. Or if we have 2 or 3 of us that are missing, we can move it from a Wednesday to a Tuesday.
We've done that.
Yeah.
And we've done that. So all in favor of these? Aye. Motion passes. Those are our dates. I don't think there's anything else that we have. So I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned. It takes a while for her to turn it off, so please hold off.